Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for your patience. We are waiting to start the meeting today until we have enough committee members present to establish quorum. We will give it a few more minutes. And then make an announcement about what we'll do for the meeting today.
Jane, just to let you know, we can move ahead with the meeting.
Thank you. All right, I will go ahead and begin the meeting, and we will get to roll call in a moment, make sure we can establish quorum. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. My name is Jane Harrington from Leading Resources, and I'm the facilitator for today's meeting. First off, I'll cover a little bit of housekeeping and meeting logistics. Spanish interpretation will be provided in the Zoom Spanish channel for the duration of the meeting. We also have interpreters to support today's meeting. We will have 2 public comment periods today for agenda items number 3 and number 6. As a reminder, please limit your comments to those agenda items. And while EJAC welcomes your comments, committee members will not be responding to public comment. For members of the public wishing to make a public comment, please raise your hand in Zoom. For those dialing in, press star 2 to raise your hand. When it's your turn, the host will ask you to unmute, and after you click the unmute button from your end, you can begin to speak. If you're dialing in, you can use star 6 to unmute. We appreciate you staying on mute until it's your turn to speak, to be respectful of everyone's turn. Before providing your question or comment, please state your name and affiliation, if applicable, so that we know who is speaking. We'll also do our best on our end to identify who is speaking so members of the public know. We intend to give each commenter 3 minutes to speak, and we'll let you know if any changes are required based on the volume of comments. The Zoom Q&A and chat functions are turned off for participants. Now I'd like to introduce our Spanish interpreter that is on the line in the main channel. Roselle, if you could please introduce yourself and translate the information on this slide.
Sure. I will provide the Spanish instructions. Hola, ¿qué tal? Buenas tardes. Para los participantes que están en Zoom, está habilitada la función de levantar la mano. Para quienes se conectan con el teléfono, pueden marcar gato 2 para poder levantar la mano y se les va a informar a los participantes cuando pueden activar su sonido para hacer un comentario público. También pueden marcar asterisco 6 para poder silenciar o reactivar el sonido.
Thank you. For those in the room, I believe we have CARB staff in the room today. Please just follow the instructions for preventing echoes. Next slide. Please translate this. Thank you.
Para las personas que están en la sala, por favor, tomen en cuenta la siguiente información para evitar ecos. Se puede hacer al seleccionar abandonar el audio de la computadora y asegurarse de silenciarse. Y también puede hacer exactamente lo mismo como se menciona en pantalla.
Thank you. If for any reason you require technical Zoom support in today's meeting, please contact CARB staff. We're in person here in Sacramento by email as provided on this slide. We will do our best to assist you. Today's meeting is being recorded. CARB staff will post to the EJAC Meetings and Events website in the coming weeks the recording of that meeting. This is the same website where you can find all materials for today's meeting as provided on this slide. Roselle, could you please provide these instructions in Spanish?
Sure. En caso de que tenga algún problema técnico, no dude por favor en comunicarse a la dirección de correo electrónico que se ve en pantalla con el personal de CARB. También se estará grabando esta reunión y todos los materiales estarán disponibles en el sitio web aproximadamente 2 semanas después de esta reunión.
Thank you. With that, I would like to begin the EJAC member roll call. As a reminder, this is the formal record of meeting attendance, and therefore we ask that all EJAC members respond when your name is called. Please state here your affiliation, pronouns, and if you are on or off camera, and if off, the reason for doing so, consistent with our meeting requirements. For any EJAC members who might join the meeting later, we will be asking for them to also verbally announce their attendance in the same fashion, so it is clear to all participants. I will begin with roll call. Martha Dina Arguello.
I am present online and on camera. Marta Dina Arguello with Physicians for Social Responsibility, she, her pronouns.
Thank you. Juan Flores.
Hello, everyone. Juan Flores, he, him, with the Center on Race, Poverty, and Environment. I'm online as well. On my computer, my camera is acting up. It should be turning on sometime during this meeting. I hope.
Thank you, Juan. Dr. Catherine Garupa. Kevin Hamilton. I see Kevin in attendance, I believe. Kevin, we can't hear you just yet.
Sorry, how about now?
Yes.
Great. I am here.
Thank you.
Well,
All right. John Harriel, Jr. Thomas Helm.
Hello, Tom Helm, co-founder of Valley Improvement Projects. I am here virtually. I'm sorry I was late. Another important meeting I had went long, and I haven't had a little break between them, so I'm going to go off camera while I take a quick break. And then, because I'm in rural California, right over here somewhere, my internet goes in and out sometimes, and if I start to freeze, I will turn off my video so that my internet can catch up, and I will try to be on video as much as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Matt Holmes.
Matt Holmes, here representing California Environmental Justice Coalition, living in Stockton, prefer respond to masculine pronouns. And I am off camera because I had to be on phone. For some reason, I can't log into Zoom now. So looks like our antenna went down. I will be on as soon as I can possibly get on.
Thank you, Matt. Kevin Jefferson III.
You're muted, Kevin.
Kevin, it looks like you're in attendance. You might need to unmute on your end.
Oh, I'm sorry. Kevin Jefferson. Happy to be here. How are you all?
Wonderful. Thank you, Kevin. Ray Leone.
Yes, presente. I am currently in the vehicle driving and will jump on video sometime very soon.
Thank you. Luis Almedo.
Yeah, hello. This is Luis Almedo, Executive Director with Comité Cívico del Valle. I also am on my phone, so I will be mostly off camera.
Thank you. Jill Sherman Warren.
Hey, Ann. This is Jill Sherman Warren, Executive Director of the Native American Environmental Protection Coalition, pronouns she and her. And I am on the res or in rural California where her internet is spotty, so I try to stay off so that I can actually not freeze. If I do freeze and get thrown out, I will come back in as soon as possible.
Thank you, Jill. We understand. At this time, we have 9 members present, 2 members absent, so we have established a quorum. I will now turn it over to our co-chairs to go over today's agenda.
Sure, I can go through the agenda. If Kevin, you want to go through meeting agreements, if that's okay. So first, we're going to do an introduction, which we've done, and this is a continuation of our meeting that we had a couple weeks ago, and primarily to prepare for the September 12th joint EJAC and CARB board meeting. Then we'll go to public comment. Then we'll come back and talk about the EJAC carbon capture, use and storage and direct air capture resolution. The action is we want to take a vote. Then we'll have public comment, and then we'll go on to next steps and any closing remarks if we need them.
Thank you. The co-chair would like to cover the meeting agreements.
Sure. Meeting agreements. Pay attention to equity of airtime. Be present. Be open and flexible in our approaches. Be realistic. Monitor our ability to get through the full agenda. Always seek out synergies. Yes, and building on each other's answers and energy. At virtual, keep camera on throughout the duration unless you have issues. State if going off camera and why to maintain quorum. If leaving the meeting, notify staff, co-chairs. Listen and be compassionate and supportive. Reach for, invite inspiration and intuition. Look for ways to move toward action where possible. Respect the agenda, trust the process, and always share responsibility for successes.
Thank you very much. We'll start with our next agenda item, an introduction and the August 16th, 2024 EJAC public meeting recap. At this point, as a facilitator, I'll do a brief recap of the previous meeting, and then I'll turn it over to the co-chairs to add anything else from that meeting. As mentioned before, the August 16th meeting was interrupted when there was a power failure that affected many blocks of downtown Sacramento, including where this meeting was being held. And so after waiting for a certain amount of time, we had to conclude the meeting today as a continuation of that meeting. In that previous meeting, we had agenda item number 1 on housekeeping and logistics, agenda item 2, introductions and opening remarks. Chanel Fletcher with CARB provided opening remarks along with the co-chairs. Agenda item 3 was a CARB informational update on the status of the EJAC charter. We had public comment on that item. And then we turned to agenda item number 5, discussion to prepare for the September 12th, 2024 joint EJAC and CARB board meeting. Co-chair Dr. Garupa framed the discussion and provided some updates. She provided an update on the cap and trade resolution, noting that the work group has made progress on the resolution, but would not be bringing a draft resolution to the committee in that meeting or presenting at the joint meeting in September. She provided an update on attendance at the EMAC committee meeting, and then opened up with the discussion about preparing for the EJAC CARB meeting in September. Dr. Garupa emphasized that the meeting outlined 2 main topics. One was going to be carbon markets with 2 sub-items, LCFS and cap and trade. And then item number 2, carbon capture, sequestration, and storage and direct air capture. She invited the committee to participate in preparing for that meeting with the discussion in the meeting itself. From there, we turned to the CCUS and DAC resolution, and there was a discussion on that resolution, which we will continue today. At that point in the meeting, we did experience the power failure, and the meeting was paused and then concluded. I will pause at this point and check in with co-chairs, see if there's anything else they would like to add to that summary of the last meeting.
I do not have anything to add.
Thank you, Martha-Dina.
I do not have anything to add.
Thank you, Kevin. At this point, we can move into our next agenda item. So it's a continuation of the EJAC discussion to prepare for the September 12th, 2024 joint EJAC CARB board meeting. We'll pause here and see if the co-chairs would like to frame this discussion as we open it up.
Well, I'm trying to remember everything that happened a few weeks ago. So I think today we mostly will want to come to some agreements about the main topics, some of the goals that we have for the joint meeting, and imagine assigning some roles for different members of the committee to talk about some issues. And I'm also thinking that maybe we leave a little bit of room today to talk about the 12-day, which is the comments on the low carbon fuel standard. I would venture that Kevin Hamilton, not to put you on the spot, while I put you on the spot, is probably the one that's read it most carefully. And so if you can give us some key takeaways today and help us queue up some of the discussion topics for the board meeting around the low carbon fuel standard, I think that would be really helpful.
Wonderful. Thank you, Martha Dina. And so looking at the agenda for today, under agenda item number 3, the continuation of the discussion, I note we've got 2 subtopics there. EJAC to discuss concerns with plastics, organic waste, and landfills as they relate to the LCFS, and questions in preparation for the joint meeting. That sounds like there's a specific question in there around LCFS, along with some discussion around the recent revisions that were released a couple of weeks ago. And then we've got EJAC to continue discussion on planning for the joint meeting on CCUS and direct air capture, the resolution. And then after that discussion, we do have an additional agenda item to actually take action on that resolution. So if we begin in order of how it's posted on the agenda right now, I'll start with that sub item, EJAC to discuss concerns with plastics, organic waste, and landfills as they relate to LCFS. So I know that's been raised in some subcommittee meetings with staff. Why don't we open that topic up for discussion?
Right. I know a letter went out. Tom and myself and a few others met with staff, and I believe there was some corrections. And then I'm going to leave that for Tom, because I think that meeting raised some other questions about how we're producing some of these so-called low carbon fuel standards. Tom, do you want to?
Tom, I think the floor is open to you now.
Oh,
Go
I'm
ahead.
on mute. I was on mute. I'm sorry. I was just saying that I had just come back from my break too, but I'm pretty sure we were talking about the meeting we had about the LCFS. There was something in the new draft regulations that noted that that plastics was not going to be included as a petroleum fuel source. And that was a concern of ours. We had a meeting, it was brought up, and from my understanding, that language was taken out. And the concern was there is a lot of newer technologies. You might have heard of like chemical recycling or advanced recycling, which I don't think it is recycling. It's just chemical manufacturing. And we were concerned that a company like that, which is usually going to open up in an environmental justice community like the trash incinerators and other technologies have, would be able to do this chemical recycling, pollute the local area and the communities, and then even receive, credits for producing those fuels or whatever they produce with it. So, like I said, it's my understanding that that was taken out. And then there is this larger concern about incentivizing any kind of municipal solid waste to fuel, which still, from my understanding, exists. It is mostly in the realm of SB 1383, and dealing with organic waste, which we talked about how organic waste still has a lot of plastics in it. Because of contamination of compost sites. I even shared my experience in touring the local city of Modesto's composting site, which had tons of plastic in it. And so it is still a concern that we are going to be doing any type of waste to energy. And we agreed that we would continue that conversation. And if I'm getting any of that inaccurate, please feel free to jump in, Marta Dina or anybody else that was on those meetings. I know Matt Botil and Ashley and Chanel were all on those meetings. Others.
Yep. I think, yeah, I think that covers it. The main issue was that in the original, somehow the definition of petroleum product excluded, does not include plastic or plastic products, which is factually incorrect. So I'm glad, and we met with Matt and that's been changed. But it did open up this other issue about municipal waste and what are some of the feedstocks that we're going, and we've been having that same conversation. Are we going to use food stocks for feedstocks? Are we going to use, or waste products that incentivize more waste versus policies that actually promote zero waste? And we started to have a broader conversation about how is there a way to reshape the way we develop programs at CARB that place the focus on actually reducing waste versus incentivizing the use of waste as a byproduct for something else? And it's not like both programs cost to do them, but we haven't tried this other approach. And I think for me in that meeting, that was like I had a bit of an aha moment of how the EJAC can actually work with CARB staff to start sort of thinking about programs differently. Right? And I see Kevin has his hand.
Well, I would just add that this is a bit disturbing, in that we're talking about chemicals. We're talking about separating chemicals from where it needs to be, and we're having all of these issues with the other chemicals that are allowed, that are continuing to be allowed, that we're fighting for to be removed. Entire countries have removed chemicals that we're still playing with. Now we want to add in plastics or separate plastics, knowing the damages that come included with that in the chemical and in processing. So it's very disturbing, but it just leads me to say that we need to bring that chemical issues and banning back up on the table, because this is serious.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Tom, did you want to respond to that or clarify anything?
No, I agree. Yeah, that's the issue. I also sit on the Cal Recycle's SB 54 advisory board, and so this is also a topic related to that. And just a couple of things that I think I left out was that we talked about having actually a joint meeting between Cal Recycle and CARB officials to talk about how all of this kind of overlaps. And I think Marta Dina pretty much said everything. We don't want to be incentivizing the types of things that are going to open up in EJ communities. So like that's been happening. And Ashley reminded me that it was specifically some of these facilities are pyrolysis and gasification, which, we hear a lot about, oh, that's different from incineration for this and that. They pollute and they end up in disadvantaged communities. And that's always been our problem with it. And so that's what we're concerned about. In SB 54, the worry is that it's not specific in the language, but the Senator Ben Allen did send a letter clarifying that pyrolysis, gasification, some other newer technologies was not the intention of SB 54 to put those on the same level as actually recycling, reducing the production of these plastics and chemicals that go along with plastics, or replacing more sustainable systems like reuse, refill, recycling, composting, and things like that.
Thank you, Tom. Others on this topic? Martha Dina, I might go back to you and just pick up where you left off. You said you'd kind of had an aha moment when thinking about EJAC and how EJAC can work with CARB on certain programs. Was there anything else you wanted to share on that?
Oh, well, no, and I think, I think I still need to do a little more thinking, and I'm hoping once we get past the board meeting, we can maybe think about this, and because there's several themes that have come up because of this conversation. One, this idea that and I'm a little worried about getting too far into this because it's not part of the low carbon fuel standard, but I'll cue it up. When we were doing the scoping plan work, and we had questions and challenges around the modeling, and we were told things like, well, we can't permit all that wind and solar, but yet you could permit all this other bad stuff, right? And so we said, well, why can't it be permitted? And we were told, conservationist and the tortoise, something like that. And so it struck me there that there is a conversation to be had with the EJAC about, are there ways that we can facilitate the siting of wind and solar in a way that then doesn't incentivize streamlining other bad forms of energy production, like hydrogen, that are going to be made out of dirty sources, right? And that's why I call them bad sources. That, if it's going to be made out of fossil fuel, it's not a cleaner alternative. So that is one of the things that I think that maybe the EJAC could help CARB think through. The second part is that we tend to want to think of all of those waste products as commodities, and I understand why. And so because we can think about them as commodities, the instinct to say, let's invest all the time and money and program efforts in actually reducing waste doesn't seem as cost effective, right? Because there's a market for the bad stuff, right? But what if that's the thinking that we have to unravel, because we keep, again, relying on dirty fuels to make supposedly clean fuels, and pretend that the impacts aren't happening from the feedstocks for the supposed clean fuel that aren't as clean as we would like them to be, right? They are actually not making things better in communities, right? Which is, again, the goal of AB 32. So those are, I want us to think about them, but I also feel like it's a bit of a tangent, because that's not what we're getting the board ready. That, does that get us more ready for the conversation with the board? And to the extent that we can have this conversation with the board, because I think this shift in thinking of how we develop programs at CARB really does have to come from the top. And so, yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Martha Dina. Thank you for noting that for a future discussion and steering us back to our item today to prepare for the joint meeting next week. In terms of carbon markets, we had two sub items there, LCFS and cap and trade. We know that the cap and trade resolution is not ready to move forward. So would you like to take this time and talk a little bit more about LCFS as a committee and preparing for that for the joint meeting?
Yes, and this is my moment to call on Kevin again, who's, if you can maybe do a high level of what, and we were supposed to get a table. Wasn't there a table that CARB was going to give us in terms of being able to review the materials, like what's new in the 15-day?
Martha Dina, this is Ashley from CARB, and I just wanted to say that that's something we are currently working on. So more to follow there shortly.
Okay, so for the EJAC members, we will have a tool to help us do that. Kevin, is there just some high level things that you want to share about the 15-day?
Yeah, I see Kevin's still in attendance. It looks like he's muted right now. And had noted in
Sorry, I'm having some problems with the internet here. Kind of goes up and down. I'm going to reboot my whole router here in a second. I think it would be best. No, I don't have any comments right now, Martha Dina.
All right, so we're not making any changes to the resolution. I hope all the
No.
EJAC members are, okay, so they're familiar with the EJAC resolution. And then so if there are no questions about the resolution and the role, we will probably, it will be the co-chair, Catherine and myself, and possibly Kevin, delivering some of the information in terms of our key talking points on the low carbon fuel standard to the board. My hope is that we do less talking at and more talking with the board. And so I want us to keep our own comments and presentations to limit those so that we really do have that interaction time to explore things with the board. That was my thinking. I don't know if other members want to add anything in terms of helping us prepare for that meeting.
So Martha, Dina, to restate, I hear what you're saying for the joint meeting is, presenting the information, but really leaving time and opportunity for a conversation between the committee and the board. That would be the goal around that. Other members, thoughts?
That sounds appropriate to me. This is Kevin Hamilton. I think we want to leave some space there for discussion. And I think board members that I've spoken to are interested in having that conversation as well.
Great, thank you. Others?
We don't have anything. Let's move on to the oh, is it public comment or the CCUS resolution now?
So we do have an opportunity right now to discuss the CCUS resolution, and then we can take public comment, and then we could move for action on that resolution.
Okay.
Would we like to do discussion at this point?
Yes, can you share screen with the resolution just so everybody can look at it?
Yes. All right, this is the resolution in the same form that was presented at the August 16th meeting and has been shared with the committee. We have not received any additional comments on that. So I think the question before the committee today, before we move to that action in terms of discussion, is there anything that would prevent this from moving forward today? Is there any other concerns, edits that would prevent us from taking action to approve this resolution so that it's ready to go for the joint meeting next week or upcoming joint meeting?
I don't have any.
I'm seeing some heads shake no. Let's see, I've got a hand raised. All right, seeing nothing from committee members, I'll give it another moment. I know we had a few moments at the last meeting, so that's many moments to review this resolution, but see if there's anything else.
Oh, boy.
All right. So members have had a few extra weeks to go. Committee members have had a few extra weeks to consider this resolution, and it did receive discussion previously. So it looks like at this point, we might be ready to move this resolution forward. Seeing nothing else from committee members, let's pause here and take public comment on this agenda item number 3. All right. As a reminder, you can raise your hand if you're dialing in. You can press *6. We ask that you limit your comments to this agenda item, and you have 3 minutes. I see one hand raised at this time, and we have no public attending in the room. I will turn it over to Evan Edgar. Please go ahead.
Hello, Evan Edgar. I'm the engineer for the California Compost Coalition. We make organic compost out of green waste, and we're certified by CDFA to be organic compost. We get the plastics out of compost. You know, and there are some bad operators out there with MSW or garbage compost, public sector ones, and Modesto or elsewhere. But when we have a finished compost, it's certified organic. The plastics are out, but the input sometimes does have plastics, and those are screened out. So we get the plastics out of compost when it's Title 14 CalRecycle certified and CDFA certified. So as part of that organic compost, we're phasing out pesticides, and we support EJAC on a phase out of pesticides in order to have organic compost. Plus, when it comes to food waste, we're involved with edible food recovery, and we feed hungry people first. And that's part of SB 1383. I'm in 10 counties right now doing edible food recovery programs to feed hungry people. And then after that, we can, after we get all the edible food out and as required, then the non-edible food, we make biogas. And that's a renewable natural gas that goes back into the truck. The refuse industry has 16,000 vehicles since 2000. We've been getting off diesel. We are early adopters to get off diesel. We don't like diesel. I don't like pesticides. I don't like landfills. We're doing everything possible to get off pesticides, landfills, and we have our trucks are near zero NOx. So we take this carbon negative fuel as part of the low carbon fuel standard, and we replace diesel. And we want to keep on doing that as part of the low carbon fuel standard. We're carbon negative, and we're part of the local circular economy. So this has been going on for a while. This is not new. This is not textbook. This is not a theory. This is case study for the last 20 years. I've been doing this the last 10 years specifically, and we built an industry and get millions of dollars from CalRecycle to make renewable natural gas. And we put it right back into the truck and to replace diesel. It's a winner program. It's a circular economy. What the Advanced Clean Fleet rule is doing is disrupting the circular economy. We have a dirty linear global economy with ZEV batteries. Now, zero emission batteries are not zero emissions. They're carbon positive. And meanwhile, I'm carbon negative. Plus, they're blood batteries. They're dig up the Congo. And as you know, we can't mine our way out of climate change. I want to commend EJAC for some positions you adopted as part of the scoping plan to have due diligence on supply chain, to not have blood batteries and slave labor and kids digging up the Congo, and then support on the carbon intensity and the recycling batteries. I want to bring that to the CARB board meeting. I will be talking about that on September 12th. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Continuing public comment. If you'd like to make a comment, please raise your hand in Zoom. If you are dialing in, please press *6. I see, for the record, 55 public attendees right now and no hands raised. I'll give it another moment. With no public attendees in the room and no attendees with their hands raised at this time, that concludes public comment on that item. Let's move to agenda item number 5. EJAC carbon capture use and storage and direct air capture resolution action. So we've previously discussed the resolution. We discussed it at the previous meeting. We had an opportunity today, and we are now at the point where we can take action as a committee on that resolution. So I will pause here and look for a motion.
This is Matt. I move for approval for a vote on the resolution.
Thank you, Matt Holmes.
I'll second the motion.
All right, hearing a second from Thomas Helm. Thank you. At this point, we can take public comment on taking action on this item. I see Evan Edgar's hand raised. Evan, go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. As part of the California Compost Coalition, we take our organic compost and put it into the healthy soils, and that's called sequestering compost and carbon within the soil. And that's a great program. CDFA has issued grants and it's oversubscribed. And when we sequester the carbon in soil, we get, we save 40% water, reduce erosion, and bring back the biota and the biological. We get a lot of pollinators, and we're really out on the ranches where we have carbon farming. We're seeing unbelievable yields of the grasses and pollinators, and it's unbelievable what we're seeing out there. And we're actually going to be applying for carbon credits for that to sequester carbon in the backyard with low vehicle miles traveled throughout California. I'm working with a California Rangeland Trust. That's a good thing. And there's a registry for that. What's confusing is some people within environmental justice community look at geological storage as same as soil storage, and they're different. I'm only got a minor in geology from Chico State. I'm not sure about the geological storage. I don't promote it. I don't like it. I think it's confusing myself. So I don't, but what I do know is soil sequestration is good for carbon, and that's a good thing. As part of the Skinner Bill SB 27, there's a registry, and I'm separating what is geological storage from soil storage. And please, in the future, do not throw the baby out with the bathwater, because some of these resolutions that are adopted confuse the two. And I always have to remind people that geological storage is different than soil storage. So as I do projects throughout California, I'm only doing the soil storage and getting healthy soils grants in order to have organic compost and phase out pesticides statewide. So that's what I just want to say. I didn't read the resolution. I'm not sure if it's conflating the two, but so many times I've seen that from the environmental justice communities that somehow don't know the difference between geological storage and soil storage. And there's a huge difference, and there's a registry that will show the difference. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Looking for any additional public comment on this item before the committee votes? Seeing no hands raised at this time, there is a motion on the table from Matt Helm to approve the resolution as it reads. It was seconded by Tom Helm. We will now take a vote. Martha Dina Arguello.
Yes.
Juan Flores.
Yes.
Dr. Catherine Grupra. Kevin Hamilton. Kevin, can you state that again? I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I heard you.
Yes.
Thank you. John Harriel. Thomas Helm.
Yes.
Matt Holmes.
Aye.
Kevin Jefferson III.
Yes.
Ray Leone.
Aye.
Luis Almeida.
Yes.
Jill Sherman Warren.
Yes.
Thank you. That concludes the vote. We have 9 in favor and 2 absent. The motion passes.
Hey.
At this time, we are at the end of our agenda for the meeting today. I would offer it to the co-chairs to comment on any next steps or closing remarks.
Well, Catherine is not feeling well today, and this is what I want to thank the members for showing up today. This was a bit of a challenge having the meeting take place over a 2-week period. So I want to appreciate all of you for showing up today. We will probably reach out to a subquorum to prepare for the meeting, for the board meeting on the 12th of September. If folks have specific things that they want to be raised, reach out to me or to Catherine or to Kevin and let us know. So far, the sub-quorum is myself, Catherine, and we're tapping you, Kevin. And I don't know who else. Tom, do you want to be on that subgroup for the low carbon fuel standard prep? I think we have 6 people as a sub-quorum. Is that right?
I was on it as well, Martha Dina.
Yeah, I
Kevin.
know that's what I did say you. We're
You just said Kevin.
oh, that's right. Kevin H. Sorry about that.
And you can put me down too.
Okay. And if other members have things that they want to put on there, you reach out to the staff to let us know what that is. And take a look. The agenda's already been sent out for the meeting on the 12th since we're at 10 days, more than 10 days, right?
Is that a question for staff?
Yep.
Sorry, Martha Dina, you're asking about the agenda for the joint meeting?
Yes.
That was posted last Friday, the 30th of August.
Just want to make sure that all the other members knew as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, so we can follow up with the EJAC members. We did provide a reminder of the agenda, but we'll do so again just to make sure everyone has the same information. Really appreciate that.
And then do you have a sense, maybe for all the staff, when we might get the document that shows us what's different in the 15-day, that table?
Yeah, thanks, Martha Dina. This is Ashley. We will get it over to EJAC as soon as possible. Hopefully this week.
Okay. Well, that's all I have.
Thank you, Martha Dina. Anything from co-chair Kevin Jefferson? All right, it looks like he's still in attendance with us, but might be on mute. Hearing nothing else, that concludes today's meeting.
Thank you all.